by someone very special. We have Aabhas Maldahiyar sir. He is an architect and an urban designer, and recently, well, not recently, but for the past couple of years, he has carved a very special place in the Indic contemporary intellectual circles. So Aabhas sir identifies himself as an ex-Marxist who's now shifted to the Indic stream, and recently his books have come out. The recent one is on Babur, the quest for Hindustan, as well as Hitler, the proclaimed messiah of the Palestinian cause. And today we'll be discussing about the books, about the research processes, and how this whole change came and where this literary discourse will be going forward.
My pleasure to be with you and discuss the books.
So, sir, I want to start with, I think, the most common question. You were first a Marxist sympathizer. So how did this change come about, and how did it land you into the midst of researching and putting out the history of Babur?
This was a long journey, but still I will try to make it as short as possible. Marxism is something which is quite something which can hit any Hindu very easily. And like how we were discussing offline, and I said that the beauty of Hinduism is perhaps the biggest threat to the Hinduism too. And that beauty is the open architecture, that openness, that idea to adapt anything or accept anything, be very receptive and don't resist the things a lot. And like any other Hindu household, so was mine, which was ultra-liberal. When I say ultra-liberal, I don't mean to talk about the wokeism which has infected the society as of now. But by ultra-liberalism, I mean that when it comes to the openness to accept and adapt something, my household or my family did it by going way forward and taking way more steps than how other families would do. So we had this thing in the house that we would go to a dargah on every Friday along with my father, and we had a lot of faith in that dargah that if we ask for something to happen, it will transpire. We saw that dargah as just another god in our household. Same time, there was a church where I would go, which was at a distance of around 700 meters from my house. So this interaction with the Christians and the interaction with the Muslims happened through these religious places. And at the same time, as far as my own house was concerned, I grew up listening Ramcharitmanas through my dadi, and she would recite the Ramcharitmanas to me. My father in the evening will take me to the terrace and show me the Saptarishi, and those things would happen. But while these things existed, there was one quest which was always there within me, is to understand that how the things happen the way they happen. And somehow there was not much logic and the reasoning behind the traditions what you follow. And somebody who is looking for the answers to the science through rationality, they become quite an easy victim to a scenario where someone is able to bring rationality to their point of view, but your own point of view, which is or rather the point of view which belongs to your tradition, is not being supported by enough rationality. You tend to deflect from there, and you begin to feel that there's some superstition which is cooking up, because this is the era where in school you're taught about the Enlightenment movement, the Reformation which was going through the European world or the Western world. And that's when you think that science had walked into Europe. Somehow India never saw the light of a science, because you're never being spoken about who Brahmagupta was, who Aryabhat was, who were our scholars in the Kashmir who were dealing with the science. But we know that there was science which was happening in the Western world, and there is no one to rationalize or tell the reasons behind the tradition, what your house follows or what your family follows. You begin to deflect, and I began to deflect as well, and somehow I got very disinterested into our tradition. It appeared as if I'm a student of rationality and a science, Hinduism is surely not a cup of tea for me, and I must denounce it. When I say denounce it, it was not announcement of denouncement which I did, but it was more like mentally I was prepared not to see this as something which I need to pursue. And that is when I would say that I entered the architecture school with this notion in the mind. An architecture school is a place where you're told to open up. You have to have a lot of freedom of thought. Freedom of expression needs to be at its zenith, because you have to create something. You have to create something which does not exist. Design is a process where you have to break all the boundaries and create something exceptionally well. And this idea to expand the horizon of the freedom of expression, God, it's very much possible that that will get merged with the literature too. And I was somebody who always liked literature. Literature always made a lot of sense to me, and I liked to read. So the theories which was being taught to us, they were of modernism, postmodernism, but I wanted to go beyond it. And modernism, postmodernism are necessarily the political movement, but they were also the art movement. That's why it's taught in architecture school.
Okay.
But once I read it, I wanted to go back to the root. And somehow when I was connecting the dots, the root came to the era of the modernism and the rationality, which further led to the creation of communism. And it looked like if communism is the kernel for the thought of all the rationality, and that's when I would also read the quotes of a lot of communists who will talk about scientific temperament. Pandit Nehru spoke about the scientific temperament many times, and he was a diehard socialist. And it's appeared to me that perhaps communism is the solution for the world. And because I have already left my tradition, I'm not believing in it. And I have got some soft corner for Islam and Christianity, because I believe that it still is rational, because they don't do idol worship. Because I did not find any logic why you need to worship idol, because no one explained to me that what this murti and how murti becomes a vigraha, what is pran pratishtha, what is the purpose of it.
For you, it was just a piece of stone.
A piece of a stone, and this looked like a very strong case for me that if Islam and Christianity is saying that why you need to worship that very idol, they are making a lot of sense, because there is nothing in idol. Why should I worship something which is just a piece of stone, maybe picked from somewhere and just sculpted into certain form? And I couldn't see any logic in how the gods sit the way they sit, why the way they are. And when these answers did not come to me, it all looked like a very vague story, whichever had come through. And I had become a diehard Marxist by my philosophy, by my thought process. Of course, not a card holder, but I was still a patriot who was very patriotic. And I became a Marxist because I thought that perhaps communism and Marxism can solve the problem for the country. And that is what was the case for me. Marxism came for the patriotism. It was not that I was anti-national, and that's why I choose to become a Marxist.
Okay. And how did you step out of it? Like, what was your breaking point?
That's a very interesting story too. And I have spoken about it with quite a lot of people, but still I will again like to bring on it because it gives me goosebump, and I always like to talk about it. So, see, that's an era. It's just a decade and a half of speaking, because it's 2010-9 and all, and I'm in the architecture school. And by then, a lot of propaganda is spreading because internet has become a thing now. And the Facebook exists, no, Orkut exists perhaps.
Orkut exists.
Orkut existed.
Orkut, right?
Yes. And Mr. Zakir Naik is very famous. It is that era. And that's when people are talking about 9/11.
Okay.
Because it's been around 7-8 years, and now the conspiracies have come through. There are conspiracy that it's the Americans themselves who destroyed the World Trade Center because they wanted to blame on somebody, and the Jews were involved. All
because
those things.
They were all on a holiday.
Yes, but this is a lie.
Yeah.
The Jews were not on holiday.
Yeah. But this is one of the very common conspiracy
it's a myth.
theories.
It's conspiracy theory which has no substance. And I checked at all of them, but Jews were not on leave. They were also among those who were killed. But Apart from that, many conspiracy theories were floating. And I was convinced that the behind every problem is the America. I still agree that America is behind a lot of problem. But the way it was narrated that there was nothing in the Islamic terrorism, and somehow even those who are fighting for the Kashmir are fighting for a great cause, the great cause of the independence, freedom. They need the freedom, they need the Azadi, and so do all the terrorists who are fighting. They are the freedom fighters. I was taken by that ride because that is what many of my colleagues, the batchmates or the seniors or the people who were in my architecture school who talk about. They will show me the video of Zakir Naik. They will show me the video of the 9/11 conspiracy, etc. And I was quite convinced that this is how it is. There were the cases where I was in fact told that to come and visit the mosque, and because my name is Aabhas, people make me Abbas many times. So I was told that, tera naam bhi Aabhas hai, Abbas, you just come and see what happens. You keep beard. That time I have a longer beard. So these all, I have gone through these things, and these are very realistic event in their life. So I won't say that there is a strong way to convert me. I don't know what it was, but surely there was an idea that I should get inflected or attracted towards those Islamic ideas. That was very much happening. And I'm quite convinced that Islam has a solution. The Christianity has solution. Hinduism does not have any solution. And of course, the maximum solution comes through the communism. But as I graduated from the architecture school, Aam Aadmi Party has Anna Andolan is happening.
Okay.
And everyone had given their share in the Anna Andolan, whatever they could, and everyone liked it also. Lot of people who support BJP today, all of them had supported, most of them had supported the Anna Andolan, and everyone had become the volunteer. Everyone wanted to do something. And that's for the first time when the pitara of the Congress corruption has opened up for the people. And so whole country right now is anti-Congress for sure. But are people, everybody pro-BJP? No. And I was also one of them who was not pro-BJP, because for me, they were the Hindutva terrorists. And I'm I'm saying it very responsibly because I know what I used to believe, and I'm being very honest about it. They were like the Hindutva terrorists. Hindutva looked like a fringe idea to me because they had broken the great Babri mosque. Religious place of some creed and religion was broken, and this is what not a civilized society does. And I had already seen through the series like the great Akbar the Great, which used to be shown in Doordarshan, then Mughal-e-Azam, the monochromatic one, Pyar Kiya To Darna Kya. These were the things which were the part of a thing. And of course, these films were made a lot earlier, but these were being made popular through Doordarshan.
I still remember that one line where when Mughal-e-Azam starts, when the map of India shows, it says "Main Bharat ho," and I wouldn't have survived had Akbar not taken the decision to save me.
Yes.
And Dil Pe Patthar Rakhe. Like,
yes.
This was...
And imagine Akbar did not even had 0.6% or the 60% of the Hindustan in his empire was also quite relatively smaller. But that apart, that's serial came, and I was enchanted by the thing of the Akbar. So those were the background. But now comes the 2011 when Anna Andolan is happening. I am too much into it. I want to do my bit. And I have got a job as a fresher architect, and that's when Aam Aadmi Party comes into the picture. And I donated my 2 years salary as a fresher architect. Still, one can Google out that architects are paid quite less. They start very bad as a fresher. So normally architects' life look very glamorous to people. They are architects, so they are, because somehow the films, movies, serials have also glamorized them. But that's how they start with. But whatever it was, I did donated my 2 months salary to Aam Aadmi Party, and it appeared like this Arvind Kejriwal is that Anil Kapoor of the Nayak film. We all saw him as some great messiah who had come into the lore, and he will
change the whole scene of Indian politics.
He will change it altogether with his sorry looking stature, with the long shirt, and we know that how he used to come with the muffler and whatnot. He always looked like a very sorry person, and he tried very hard to connect with the Aam Aadmi. and everyone got into that trap. I did get in badly because it was very tough for a fresher architect to give away 2 months salary to a political party. So you can imagine the kind of conviction I had, and so did other people. They believed so much in this man and this political organization. They went out of their way to do something for the party. And so now his policies also looked like he was a socialist person who will change the things. And but the things had to change. And comes the 2013 or so, or 12 or 13, when I visit the Ajanta caves. And I do this as somebody who is also teaching in an architecture school. And I, being the junior most faculty, I've been given the duty to go with the students. So I'm like, I'm going with the students as an instructor. And we walk into the Ellora caves first, and we see the Kailasha temple. And when we look at the Kailasha temple, again, once people look it through the images, it's a very different scale. I recommend everyone should go and watch it. And I was taken aback when I saw it, because before that I knew Ellora, or rather Kailasha Mandir, only through the sketches which I made in the history of architecture for 10 odd marks. That's all I knew the Kailasha Mandir to be like. But when I saw it in person, I was taken aback. The scale, the intricacy, the details. We still don't know that how it was built, though many people can claim that they have figured it out. But I, as an architect, can tell that we don't have a very strong reason to
built out of a single stone.
Yes. So we still don't know how it was built, because you can't. You can do all project management based calculation, that how many people would have been taken into account and etc. But you will still not be able to come to a rational number how it was done. So people have taken it to the another level that aliens built it and whatnot. But I don't believe that aliens did it, because if I believe that, then I'm undermining my ancestors. I surely believe my ancestors were great people. They were great craftsmen. They were great architects, and they would have done something, though we have not figured out. Someday we'll figure it out. But coming back to this point, I am taken aback. But the change happened somewhere else. Change is when I walked into the Ajanta caves. In the Ajanta caves, as I get inside, you step down. As in, you get in, you come down 1, 2, 3 steps, and there is a whole level is down. It's depressed inside.
Okay.
And there are beautiful paintings inside the cave, and those paintings have been done by, of course, organic colors. The mode of the color was organic color back then. There was nothing else. So those colors, when used, you also need the light to paint them, because the caves are the dark places. How did they get the light? I was quite curious. I asked the guide. He had no answer. So I met the Professor Deshpande. He's an architect, a great academician in that very reason. And in the evening, he showed me a wooden model, and it was a wooden model of the Ajanta cave. And it was sectional model. Section is something when you cut something for center or anywhere, that's what we call section in engineering term.
Okay.
Say this is the mic, I cut it, and then I visualize it. That's the section.
Okay.
So imagine that this is a cave and it has been cut. So you will see that how the levels are, everything. So that's how the sectional model was, a wooden model. And then he shut the light. The curtains were pulled. It was completely dark. It was already evening, so almost it was dark, but still he pulled it out. And then he put the water inside that ditch which was there. And just to remind the viewers that the fire couldn't be used as a source of light, because fire, when interacts with the organic color, it will form carbon, because that's a very scientific. Any organic compound, when reacts, when fire is exposed to it, the carbon is formed. That's how we create kajal, right? It's a very known phenomenon. So fire couldn't have been the source of light. Coming back to this model and Professor Deshpande, he puts water, he takes the torch, and the light is made incident, and the light ray reflects back. Now he said this is how they generated light, because sun is at a certain position at a certain time, and the sun rays would come, they would get incident onto the water body, and they had some reflective process inside the ditches, and the light would reflect back, and the so-called snails of reflection. And I was like, the people whom I thought were the fools, the superstitious monks and the sadhus, they were using a so-called Snell's law at least 1500 years ago. And we as an architect still can't use that Snell's law to generate and induce light. if I want to bring light. But they did it long back just to do some paintings, to paint their philosophy there. They did it. And then that's where the journey began, to look back into my past. And it started with the Buddhist literature to Upanishad. And once you begin to dabble with religion, automatically history comes. Because my father is a historian, so I always had this pedigree for being somebody who wants to learn history. So that and this instant of getting into the religion began to push me to learn history, and that's where the journey began. But I wanted to do obviously authentic history because I had no reporting manager to report to for history. So it is always unfiltered still, because I don't owe anything to anybody. I just write what I wish to write based on the sources.
So coming to Babur, I think and we've talked about this in a separate segment, in a separate talk, that you're amongst, I wouldn't even say few people because that's undermining the work you've put.
Thank you.
But you've actually gone to the original manuscript, and that is where you've picked it up from, all the data, be it the Chessboard King, which I've read. I'm yet to read The Quest for Hindustan, but I did read the dedication poem. And just reading it, by the time I came to the second page, where they're talking about like that it's better to accept yourself to fire than give yourself, you get goosebumps, which I would want to read out later on because it's too brilliant. But my point is, so when you were researching for Babar and you decided, how did you decide that the breakage would be? And how did you decide how you want to segment the book and how you wanted to take it forward? So
I wanted to bring this book in one go, as in whole collected together. But the quantum which was coming out, the moment I began to write, the quantum was so massive. It appeared that the book cannot get over without 1,000 pages, or say at least 800-900 pages. Then there were two kinds of pressure. One is that the book's price will just go up. Already the book is very highly priced, I know it. And so it means that the book would have costed at least 2,000 rupees, which would have made a book non-readable for a lot of people, because people don't want to invest in the book, but they will invest in many other things. That notion also is. So we were very cautious that the book needs to be broken in a way that it comes in two parts, but still it makes sense. The first part also makes sense in entirety. The second part also makes sense in entirety. If one only wants to read first part, it's okay. If one wants to only read the second part, it's okay. But if you read both of them together, you get the most definitive biography of Babar. So they are both independent, yet when they tie together, they will give you it's your choice that whether you want to look at Babar holistically, or you are just interested in his personal life, his formation years, which come in Babar 1, or you're interested in looking at what he does in Hindustan, which is of a lot of interest for the Indian people, because that is also a matter of politics. And so politics drives a lot of things, and that's what triggers the interest. So that's the reason why I believe that Babar 2 would be of interest to a lot of people, but I still will push that people should buy both of them and read both of them. So that they get the holistic picture. And had I chosen to just do the Indian conquest, I would have produced another pamphlet which left has already been doing. So we have been blaming left for producing the propagandas. We have been blaming them for doing something which just serves or brings only one part of a larger picture. If I would have done so, I would have done the same mistake, but in a different way altogether. Because see, I'm not saying that Babar is not a villain. If one asks my opinion, irrespective of how any show would like to put it as that, whether he was hero villain, they will try to make him grey. But for me, as an Indian Hindustani, it's very clear that Babar was a villain. But at the same time, if I have chosen to do the biography of an antagonist, then also I have to talk of his biography. I'm not here to give character certificate to Babar.
Or your own views, which is actually very refreshing in the book.
Yes.
That you've not just painted like one side. You've talked about everything. You've talked about, okay, like, he was expected to put the duty for the state before his own personal choices. He did that. You've talked about his poetry, which again was a very untouched. I think this is the first time I've actually read more about his poetry. I wasn't aware of that aspect prior to this.
Yes.
So you've put out all those aspects. So you've not just painted like a black and white picture, or if someone picks up this book, they can't say, oh, this is a book of the right, because and that is how a biography should be written. But I think like from certain segments, it also gets you the flack that you are, trying to still like not call him out for his.
Yes, it happened with Babar one. There was, I remember a few trolls for sure that who would pick up the images from here and there and
without context images,
and they will say that, oh, he has come up with a thing. What's the point of even writing about Babar? Why you are doing book on Babar? So my share of answer to them back then was that you can't really point out anyone that what they are supposed to do to start with. You want to do a book on someone, as in whoever was trolling me, if you want to do it, please go ahead and do it. No one is stopping you. No one can have the right to tell me that what I want to do, what I don't want to do. At the start, I am very clear at it. But at the same time, you have not even read the book. You have a problem that I am writing a book on Babar. You have a problem that I am saying that Babar is a poet. How does it really matter if I say that Babar is a poet or not? He was indeed a poet. It did happen. He wrote the poetries. You can't erase it. Now, if today a Samarkandi comes, the people of Samarkand say that Indians should not write a book about his quest for Hindustan or about his declaration of Darul Islam, because it hurts us, it makes us appear in a bad light. But that's not even going to be the case. Because we are in a job of doing a biography, we are not in a job of doing a revolution. We are in job of writing the history. So when you are writing history, you have to touch upon everything. And it's very important that you learn about your villains. Because if you don't know your villains, and knowing your villain does not mean that it's very expected that the villain will or antagonist will always do the wrong. But you have to present also the picture that antagonists have got a personal life. They have got a different kind of life beyond what the wrong things they're doing.
It's not a one-dimensional life.
Yes. And again, I'm not trying to paint a gray character of him. I'm sure that I always say there's black and white, but black and white are two distinct things. I'm not trying to make a gray. I'm not superimposing them. I'm not trying to make a case that Burhan Wani ke father was a headmaster. So if Burhan Wani was a terrorist, it's done. It's clear. Of course, it's his fact too that his father was the headmaster of a school. That's his fact. So even if someone does a biography of antagonist like Burhan Wani, for that matter, he will touch upon that as well. That of course he was the son of a headmaster, and whatever his childhood was like, it's going to be part of the biography. But it does not wash away the crimes he has done. Now, say even if you look in a current context, if someone has been convicted of a murder and he gets a punishment for what he has done, even if he would have given crores of charity to an organization, does it really matter that he gave the charity? But if we do the biography of that murderer, then those charities will come into the picture. Of course they will come. And unless you don't touch these aspects, you will not be able to be cautious, because these problematic people come from in and around in the society. They can be, in fact, if we talk in the context of Israel and Gaza, what happened in 7 October, they were the people who were working in the household of the Israelis. They gave the intel to the Hamas that what the scenario is. They were the information provider. So it can't just be anybody. So as long we should neither make larger than life picture of the heroes. We should not even see that the villains are even larger than the life people. They are also common people. Any common person can do the crime. Be prepared for any crime which can come upon you. It will not be some demon or some godly people who do it. They are just among us. So that's why this humanization of Babar was done, and it was a very deliberate step.
No, because it does help that in spite of the humanization, it doesn't take away from his villainies.
Yes.
Yeah. And speaking of the Palestinians and, the Hamas reference, your book, Hitler, the proclaimed messiah of the Palestinian cause, that was out of the syllabus for us. How did that happen? We expected Babur to come, but then Hitler just came out of nowhere.
Yes.
It was a happy surprise. But how did that come?
That's this story also began 5 years back.
Okay.
And it was a post tweet by Imran Khan Niazi, when the ex-prime minister of Pakistan, when he tweeted and said that Hindu nationalism is has taken inspiration from Nazism, and that's why BJP is like a party of somebody who supported Nazism. And that's where the intrigue hit me, and I wanted to dig deeper. As usual, I was skeptic. I was not declaring that Hindutva cannot be related to Nazism. Rather, I wanted to check that how exactly Hindutva was dealing with the Nazism. But the moment I began to open the documents, op-eds, etc., everything, I found less about Hindutva and Nazism. Yes, I found the articles, and there's a few realities too, like Munje went and meet somebody, the fascist faction, the Mussolini. These things happened. But there, the larger picture was, which came through the documents, archival documents, which are from Israel, which are from France, which are from UK, which are from, I began to access a lot of archival documents, which showed that there's a very deep connection between the Nazis and the Arabs. And that connection goes to a level which Hindutva can't even imagine. And I also came through the document which said that Vinayak Damodar Savarkar was the first Indian politician to acknowledge a Jewish homeland. So here is somebody, the fountainhead of Hindutva, modern Hindutva at least, who is recognizing the Jewish homeland. And then we are blaming somebody who has recognized the homeland for the victims of fascism and Nazism as a Naziwadi. So what kind of oxymoronic comparison is this? So if somebody has supported a Jewish homeland, they surely cannot be Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah.
Because if you have to be Nazi sympathizer, you have to be like the Arabs who say that from river to sea, the Palestine will be free. But we were not doing that. We supported the cause of the Jewish homeland. We as in Vinayak Damodar Savarkar here. So that research intensified, and I was not speaking much about it, that it will shape into a book, etc. I silently kept working for 4.5 years. And then it was sent to the publisher. They were happy to publish it. And they did a brilliant job because, of course, Blue One Ink is a new publisher on the board. But the quality which has been produced in terms of the editing, we spent around 8 to 9 months for editing, which is massive for a book. Nowadays, people bring books in 8-9 months. But we spent 8-9 months for the editing. Each and every sources were cross-verified. Whether it's following a certain format or not, we were very particular about the formats. It has to be in a particular format where the comma comes in the citation, where the full stop comes, which goes in italic. We followed it very religiously, very holistically. And this book came out as a good product in terms of how it looks. Content is something what obviously people will judge and tell that how they feel about it. But this was certainly a very important book, is an important book. And it did not start on 7 October 2023, which people may think that suddenly I got excited about it. It happened a lot before that had happened. It's just a coincidence. It happened and it gave me more food for thought. And those ideas are reflected also in the dedication poem, which comes in Hitler. Okay. So where I have dedicated the book, of course, to Christopher Hitchens and Tariq Fateh. And there's a poem for the Jews. That like how I have given the dedication to the Rajputi woman in the Babar, the Quest for Hindustan. In this I have given it to the Jews because they also have been they have been steel-hearted and they have taken the brunt like nobody else have taken. So that's how it happened. Of course, it was it may be out of syllabus, but it has to be in syllabus for sure.
No, it does. And how do you justify the title when you call him the, the Messiah for the Palestinians, the proclaimed Messiah?
Yes. So I use the word proclaimed, I use the word Messiah, I use the word Palestine. Each and every word was very well thought of. Why it has to be. In fact, cover page was also well thought of, where you see
the cover page is very interesting.
Yes, it is. What you see in the Arabic is the full form of the Hamas.
Okay.
In the Arabic, what you see, of course, the Nazi symbol is there in the black. What you see in the back is not just the Nazi symbol, but also is the moon, the crescent. What we talk about. I'm just decoding I don't want to keep it cryptic. And there's a Palestinian map which is on the face of Hitler, is superimposed there. So the cover page tells you the story very clearly, that what exactly it is about. And the term, the Masiha, because it's almost equivalent to the prophet. And the Palestinian cause, because the leaders of the Palestinian cause always saw Hitler as the second prophet. He was almost like a second prophet to them. Again, the apologist of Islam would come and say that, but according to Islam, Prophet Muhammad is a seal of the prophets, as in he's the final prophet. After the prophet can't happen. I know it. I very well know it. They did the kufr. I am agreeing to it. But they are not seeing it as a kufr, because if there also work comes in the theology, for you always think of the larger cause. The larger cause is to erase the Jews from the land where they live, from the Palestine, from Israel. And because the Prophet Muhammad also preached same as per the text, and he also according to the Quran and according to the Hadith, the judgment day can't come until the Jews are annihilated. This is very clear. So they thought that when this is what is the larger picture to achieve, even if we make Hitler be seen as a second prophet, it's not a problem. Because the larger cause is something else. And in fact, there's a concept of al-taqiyya too, which tells you to use a desert. And
as long as it benefits them.
Yes, as long as it benefits. That's what had happened. And they saw him as a second prophet, one who has come to finish the unfinished work of the prophet, as they say. And so the title is very right. And I'm very responsible for how the title has come, and I'm very sure of it.
And so how do you respond to, the usage of the swastik symbol and the Nazi party symbol, how they're sometimes interchangeable, how Hindus become very apologetic or very defensive about it?
Yes.
Your views on that?
So my views have evolved a lot on this. Initially, I was always somebody who added the nuance. When I say that added the nuance, it means that of course there was a time when I was a man with less nuance. And I'm very happy to accept it. And that's why I'm very happy to accept that once upon a time I was a Marxist. So I want to be as honest as possible. And so is the case here. My thoughts also evolved. That got nuanced. My first point here is, even if you would have used swastika, how does it really matter?
Exactly.
Why should Hindu be so defensive about something which any crime doer or a villain or a criminal has done? Or he's used a Hindu insignia. Why should we be so apologetic? Oh, this is not swastika. He might not. Because our symbols are so beautiful. They can invite anybody to pick it. I cannot stop a murderer if he has picked Bhagavad Gita, and then we cannot say that Bhagavad Gita told him to murder. It is not the case. Bhagavad Gita preaches a lot of beautiful things, but to murder. This is the last thing which it will tell you. So same happens with the swastika too. And swastika is a symbol which existed everywhere. It can be found all over in the Europe. And because Europe, swastika is necessarily a symbol which represents the continuation of life. It's a very beautiful symbol. It's a symbol of auspiciousness, as prosperity. It speaks about a lot of things. So that's why you find this symbol existing many places in Europe. In Greece, in Germany, it was found everywhere. Now, church did adapt it, and they called it hook and cross too. And hook and cross is called hook cross. This is the term which actually Hitler uses. Hitler never uses a term called swastika in Mein Kampf. So he's using the term hook and cross, which translates to hook cross. Where he got the inspiration from, where he saw it first. Of course, he saw first in a church. where he took his education in the initial days. In 1895, is 1893, 94, 95, somewhere time he observed it in a church. And that symbol still exists. That's a Nazi symbol, which is a swastika rotated 45 degree, which generally should not be addressed as swastika. It should be addressed as hook and cruise. This is a fact. But still, somehow Hindu did not get apologetic about these things. We get very apologetic. And we can't even prove that what exactly Hitler used. So why are we even getting into that debate? It makes no sense. It makes no. So rather we should talk to the friends who call it swastika, that stop using swastika. We can just
the term hook
and cruise. We are done with it. But even this argument goes far a bit too far when we say that उसने swastika नहीं use किया था. उसने क्या use किया हमको पता नहीं है. It is not even a matter of discussion. It is as ambiguous as Rana Sanga's letter. But it again, as Rana Sanga's letter does not really bring the stature down of the great Rana Sanga. It doesn't matter. It can be a strategy too. But we have found evidences where it largely looks that he never wrote the letter. But even if he wrote the letter, it doesn't matter because it can be a strategy to trap Babar. And if there's a strategy to trap the enemy, what's wrong in it? So likewise, there's a lot of things which we cannot arrive to a solution or the answer at, but we can surely have an opinion which can make Hindus a little less unapologetic. We have to be very unapologetic, not defensive, not offensive also, but at least you have to be very aggressive when you pitch for your thoughts, because world knows that what swastika stands for. So what are we scared for?
True. And I also want to ask you one thing. Were there any parallels when you were writing? Because these are two very separate subjects, but they also kind of have a very a distinct linkage. Were there any parallels when you were?
There were some. They were like, see, Babar comes and says that I want to establish Darul Islam. Now, this was a discovery for me because I did not know that he clearly said that I want to establish Darul Islam. I only knew so far is that, of course, he had Islamic intention. He wanted to destroy the idols. But he never said equivocally that I will establish Darul Islam. This was my notion. And but I found it in some folios where he's talking about Darul Islam when he conquers Chanderi. He says that now Darul Harb has been removed and Darul Islam has come into the picture. So he makes this proclamation very clearly. And he wanted to annihilate the Hindus too. And which is very clear from his words of jihad during the Battle of Khanwa, his words during the Battle of Bayana, his words during the Battle of Chanderi. He makes his thought process very clear. Of course, his intensity was not as sophisticated as that of Hitler, because Hitler gave the nuance to this medieval era barbarians, if you put it this way. So had Hitler not come, you wouldn't have seen Al-Qaeda. There would have been just some disturbing fringe around, because Al-Qaeda is very systematic, is very organized. They operate exactly how the military system work. All the terrorist organizations, they have got these nuances which never existed till the medieval era. Imagine that this is a era of say 16th, 17th century when the Europe is advancing quite fast. Their military power is way too superior, very strong. But as superior as they were the Islamic powers in the 7th, 8th, 9th century, their power started to wane. They are not as strong as they are. Their war methods are not as sophisticated as the Westerners. So that's the reason why the processes what even the Ottomans used during World War I was taken from the West. It was not taken from there. So Hitler gave the sophistication to the medieval barbarians, and the things began to change for them drastically. But the purpose was same. On one hand, here, like in this book, Babur was looking for the annihilation of Hindus, destruction of culture. But Hitler was looking for annihilation of the Jews. Hitler was looking for the annihilation of one creed. The Arabs were looking for the annihilation of the Jews for very sure. They wanted to impose the Islamic law, the Sharia. And this is what even Babur was looking to do. But what we observe in this 20th century saga is that it's very sophisticated. The scale has gone up many times. And because warring was the moral code of conduct back then. Immediately the people will pick the weapons. Like say that, imagine that something happens today, someone is coming from outside and invades our land. It's not that we will pick up the battle, we will wait, our soldiers will do something. We are living in that era. That was we are living in this era. That was the era when the people will pick the weapons immediately
at the slightest hint of threat.
Yes, that is what they will do. So they were getting the Babar and the likes were getting constant resistances. Like Babar often laments that the mosques have been demolished. So it has happened. It's not that resistance was not there. We were just living at the peace, and we had accepted them very happily. There were continuous resistance to Babar and other invaders too. But at this point, the societies have become a bit civilized. Civilized would be, I'm just using this word for the lack of vocabulary. What I mean to say that
sophisticated.
Sophisticated. It has evolved a lot. Where when the Jews are coming, they are not prepared that we are going to do war. We'll just live a happy life, and that's how the things are. But here the two group, one is a Nazi group, and another is Arab groups who are still there. We will pick the weapons. We will kill you. So their intensity was way higher, because here the other side is not ready to pick the weapons. They are not. But in the past, the other side was always ready to pick the weapons. They were equally equipped to fight the battle, which was not the case here. So you will see the atrocity done by the Arabs and the Nazis way higher in the scale than what was done in that era, because the scale, the sophistication was much more lower. Of course, we did see the Holocaust. There is a thing called Hindu Holocaust or Hindu genocide, which I very much believe in. And it's not much spoken about. Like a question comes that are the Hindus the Jews of today? But I would say that Hindus had were in the condition of Jews even earlier. It's not so different, because from 1000 to 1500 CE, we lost around 84 million people. They perished, some as taken as a slave, some killed, a lot happened. So 84 million is a huge number, and that's only for 5 centuries. There would have been even more numbers which would have perished. It's just that nobody took ahead the narrative of the genocide which has been committed against the Hindus.
So there was, I think, Deepak sir had said this somewhere, that Hindus don't form very palatable victims.
Yes.
So you don't want to raise their cause because, like, you're not aesthetically very palatable.
So one thing,
the whole idea of it.
What I observe in my observation, personal observation in this is that Jews got the attention only during the World War. Before that, no one gave any attention to what's happening to the Jews. And that was also done because of strategic and the political circumstances. On the other hand, Hindus were not living in Great Britain. Jews were living in Great Britain. Hindus were not living in America. Jews were, of course, living in America. So they were the civilians or the citizens of those countries. So it became more like to protect their own citizens' rights, which those countries rose up for the cause of the Jews. And also there was a white man guilt, because they did so much to the Jews in the past. Because before the Islamists came into the power, they were the Christians who were persecuting the Jews. So that guilt has always been there. And that's the reason why when in 2015 Netanyahu made a comment that it's an Arab Palestinian who had incited Hitler, Germany rose up and said, hey, please don't say it. We are the one responsible for it. They still are so much down with that guilt that they don't care for any other cause at all.
They don't want it downplayed at all.
They don't want to downplay it at all. And Hindus never come in this frame, because Hindus is in this very small reason. It's a large reason, but compared to the larger frame,
it doesn't form as a global entity.
Yes.
The Jews form as a global victimhood entity.
Yes. Like, for example, British still have some kind of guilt for the Indians. There will be a lot of British who will rise up and say that if their government or the state says something, they will rise up and say that, oh, this is not right. We did this was wrong, and this shouldn't have happened. But apart from the British, you will find, so this white man's burden, or rather white man's guilt, is always there with them, with respect to the societies which they have tried to trample.
So, sir, I want closing thoughts on this. Babar, both the books, they've broken a lot of myths. They've busted a lot of myths. Will we be seeing the same in Hitler as well? Like, there's a very common thing, again, conspiracy theory, which goes around that, the Jews deserve to be gassed because they had incited Hitler, and like there were these fringe elements that would create nuisances, so he had no option. Like, his hands were tied and he was like, you know what, I'll gas you.
So I know the root
And
of
I
your
know
question.
you'll have this.
Yes. So right now also among the Hindus there is a notion that why should a Hindu be bothered about what the Muslims and the Jews are doing? And if you talk in perspective of Indians, it's like, why should Indians be bothered about what Israel and Palestine is doing? It's really none of our business. And because the Jews are equally bad as the Muslims, because their scriptures also talks about it, and they're the people who are the reason behind all the destruction, all the evil things which happen in the world. You talk the crime and it's the Jew. That's what they say. But where does this originate from? Is it a real thing? Had the Jews been so powerful, Israel was not required to fight so many battles. That's the first thing. It also relates to this fact that had Israel been interested in the genocide of Gaza, as people are blaming them, they would have done it on one day. They are way more powerful.
It's not that they can't finish it
if
off.
they want to do a genocide, they can do it. The only country which gave the maximum job and the occupation and the career prospects to the Palestinians are the Israelis. Why no one is asking the Egyptians and the other Arab good friends that why they are not giving job to the Palestinians, why they don't take them into their state if they are so much caring for, why they have closed the door for them, right? These tough questions are never asked to the Arabs. Now, coming to this aspect about the Jews being behind all the evils, it comes from a playbook called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. And this was a text which is attributed to the Jews, is the words of the Jews, and where they're declaring that we will do this, we will control the banks, we will control the finance system, we will control all the industries, we will create the wars. It comes from that very text. But what this book is about, that book is a cheap plagiarism of a play which existed in Russia, where all the evil character has been replaced by the Jew. It's Control F, select all, replace the word Jew. And this is true because this was well documented by Times in 1921, way before Hitler used this Elders of Zion, Protocols of Elders of Zion again to incite people against the Jews, and which was used by the Arabs too. It became, and today in the social media, still people are pasting the excerpts of that book and saying that, hey, we told you the Jews are. So they don't even know that how comical and idiot they look when they paste these things, because this plagiarism has been caught at least 100 years back, and it is taken from a fictitious play. It was a fictional play where the Jews are not the party. It's just a play where there's a villain and who wants to control. The
villain has been replaced by
the Jew, and that's how the document. And it was debunked by the Times in 1921, which is around 104 years back from now. So, but still, even Hindus are victim of it. Jews नहीं ऐसा करते. हमने तो बोला था. We had told you that Jews are like this, and so do each one of them. Each one of them, as in the Arabs still do it. There are many Americans who talk about it, that we should not side with the Jews. And there are a lot of right-wing Americans who have changed their stance off late. You can watch their podcast, you will see it happening. But it's very sad that the text of plagiarism has begun the source of this big misinformation.
But I feel it's because no one wants to go back to the source and actually read it. Like, you have done your homework. But a lot of people, like, they're all Twitter warriors, the keyboard warriors.
Yes.
They want the fastest fingers first.
Yes.
And they'll type whatever rubbish comes to their head, and they'll just like go ahead with it.
Yes. Yes.
And that's how misinformation spreads. Like, I think it was yesterday or day before that there was this tweet going around which was pointing to a very well-established right-wing research foundation, and it was raising fingers at it. It wasn't that foundation, but so many of the right-wingers also thought that, oh, you know what, we said this organization could be dicey. It spread through, and it was after, like, there were like, I think 2-3 people who then pointed it out that, this is fake, this is propaganda news which is going around. But a lot of the right-wingers also didn't know that. It's just, you just like exploding, like you get this information, you don't know what to do with it. You will not do your homework, research, and look into it. You just want to spread it first because you want to be the one giving rise to the viral content.
Yeah, and it's the game of the clickbaits, and at the end
It
of the
is.
day, and people are not bothered about the facts because when I say that I am quite serious when I say I am open to accept my mistakes too. If something like I had the notion that Babur destroyed the Ram Mandir, but in this book I dislodged that myth that it was destroyed by Aurangzeb. Now, this is something which I have accepted. I have put the fact across. I know that I will get negative clickbaits for it, baits for it, or maybe people will call me out that he's trying to save Babur and whatnot. But how does it really matter? What is going to matter is that maybe that after 20 years, X is not going to exist. I'm not wishing bad luck to Elon Musk, but still, don't know that what the scenario will be 2 decades later. You don't know whether Facebook will be there or not, Instagram will be there or not. But these books have made their place. They're going to be there in the print for sure unless we run out of ink and the paper and those things go wrong. But these books are going to be there. So if after 30 years someone picks this book, should they be interested to know about the empire established by Babur and his successor, then they should know that what the fact was. Because this X post dies in 30 minutes. The books are there to live for 300 years. The Babur wouldn't have thought that we will be doing so much of threadbare of his personal diary, right? So
he just wrote it.
He explicitly talks about he being gay and whatnot. Yeah. Everything he has put very clearly. So you would have thought that it's going to be published in multiple languages, then people are going
fighting over it.
Yes, he wouldn't have thought. He just wrote his personal diary, and so is the case with the books that once they have been written, they are going to exist, and people needs to bear this in mind that maybe that what misinformation you are trying to spread for certain amount of likes or repost or to be he's an intellectual and whatnot, but your identity has to be something beyond the X. Your identity has to be something beyond Instagram, because there was a time when the books sold in millions. Now the books sell lesser. That's the reality. But there's a time when the books sold in millions. It was sold without X. It was sold without Instagram. It was sold without any social media, because people knew that it's Paulo Coelho, that he's going to bring a substance for you. Right. Today we are talking podcast. That was not even the era of the podcast. And first it started with the audio podcast, and then it has taken this format. But back then there was nothing. It was just the word of mouth and the conviction which dropped from the cover pages. That's how people purchased the book. They did so well. So the books are going to be there, literature is going to be there, and that these clickbaits, they will just be there for 30 minutes, because after 30 minutes no one cares.
Because then fresh clickbaits.
Yes, because something else will come. But as I said, that we don't know whether X will exist now. Social media itself will exist. So we don't know what transition is going to happen. So those things really don't matter. And I push more and more people to write more and more and go back to the primary sources, read the sources, do your homework. Don't be bothered about what people say, because it really doesn't matter. You can always move on.
And so are there any future works in the pipeline?
Oh yes, one is Akbar is already in progress. I am already through around 40,000 words. So that I believe it will be around 250,000 words book. But that's a challenge, that whether it's going to be 2 volume or 1 volume, because my publisher.
No, because even for Hitler, you mentioned that the bibliography is on the
almost the same size of the book.
Yes.
So bibliography is around 400 pages, 350 pages or so. The book is around 550 pages. So it would have become 900 page a book. So the cost would have jumped up. Yeah. So we thought that let's cut it down. And so, but that's what the nature of the work should be, that it has got around more than 1,000 bibliographical references, and all are unique. It's not that there is any repetition. All are unique because they are taken from the archives, where you mentioned the archive reference, which archive you have taken from, what is the number of the folio where it has been taken from. So all are unique in nature. And that's the work which we need to push for, as in to write. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to push for the book, but what I'm largely trying to say is that people should work in that direction, so that the work is very academic in nature. Work is equally fascinating to read, which I am learning in due course. My writing has changed a lot with how I used to write and how it is, because I took this thing very seriously when Sopan Dasgupta had once said to a lot of people that we need to learn a lot from the likes of William Dalrymple, because he writes so beautifully.
He knows how to weave the
Yes, he
story.
writes so beautifully. And I have this complaint from so-called right wing that we are too serious about putting the facts. They become a bit too academic in nature.
They become dry, so the common people
Yes.
they view it कि अरे ये तो पढ़ाकू लोग पढ़ेंगे.
Yes, it
Not our
goes.
cup of tea.
But if you want to make a work readable, you have to weave it like a story. You have to do some improvisation. You're talking about battles. You have to talk about the environment. You have to talk about the geography. So that it feels like that some drama is happening. You're writing a script of the film. That's how you need to do without altering the script. We should learn from Ramayana and Mahabharata.
Yes.
Yes.
So looking forward to Akbar now.
Yes.
And looking forward to diving into the 2 recent books that
Thank you so
have
much.
written. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
My pleasure.
It's been amazing talking to you. It's always insightful as usual.
you.
And you inspire us to do our homework as well,
My
because you are so thorough with your facts. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this segment. Do like, share, and subscribe, and do support us, and stay tuned for the next parts as well. Thank you.